Am I a-hole? For telling my sister I don't know if I love her after finding out about her 5-year affair. My sister, 32, moved in with me because she got pregnant 5 months ago, from what she claimed was a one-night stand. I love my sister, so of course I took her in. My husband is overseas for 6 more months, so it was nice to have her around because I care about her very much. On Monday, I came home and saw my sister and a strange woman in a screaming match on my doorstep. I obviously didn't know what was happening, but I saw the woman poking my pregnant sister's shoulder, so I intervened. I sent my sister inside, and she begged me to send the woman away. I didn't understand what was going on, but I wanted the altercation to end for everyone's sake, so I told the woman as much. Then she started screaming, asking me if I was also sleeping with her husband. I was like, "What?" And then she basically revealed that my sister had been having an affair with her husband for 5 years. 5 years. She had everything printed out, chats, photos, emails, receipts. It was disturbing to see, and I didn't want to go through it all, but a few things were established. 1. My sister knew about his wife and she knew she was the mistress and liked it. 2. This woman was a stay-at-home mom to their 4 kids, one of whom has a severe disability from a car accident. 3. Her husband knew about my sister's pregnancy and even took her on a baby moon to celebrate it. 4. The affair had been going on the entire time, with my sister believing he would eventually leave his wife for her. 5. My sister had fully embraced the role of being the other woman and was emotionally invested in their relationship, despite his repeated lies about leaving his wife. I told the woman I was very sorry, and that I obviously didn't know. But I asked her to leave because this wasn't going anywhere, and I didn't want the neighbors to call the police. She was furious but gave me her number on a post-it, begging me not to let her husband stay at my house. I assured her that no man was stepping foot in my home. My sister was begging me not to believe the woman, calling her a vindictive ex-wife. I told her, "All right, then let's look up the marriage online. Let's see if a motion for dissolution of marriage was ever submitted." We fought hard. My sister kept saying I would never understand and that they loved each other, but he just couldn't leave his wife. Blah, blah, blah. I called her dumb and naive. To call her a home wrecker. I told her she could stay here because I didn't want her to become a financial burden on that woman in any way. But I also told her that right now, I didn't want to engage with her. My sister asked me if I still loved her, and I told her honestly, "Right now, I can't say I do. I will always help my nephew and not endanger you. But I can't like you because you've shown me you're not a trustworthy person." I told her I didn't trust her not to try anything with my husband, and I didn't trust her with anything at all. So, I made her sign a tenants agreement. She's been begging me to forgive her, and I told her there's nothing to forgive. I just don't know who she is anymore. Am I the a-hole? Not at all. Your sister absolutely sucks. She's scum, a home wrecker, willingly. She knew about the wife and yet she decided to get involved with a married man with children. Your sister deserves more than the shame that she's feeling right now. And I understand you continue to house her for the sake of the baby, who has no fault that his mom and his dad suck. But you are absolutely right. Your sister has shown you in a horrible way that she is not a person to trust at all. I mean, setting aside the whole home-wrecking thing that she was doing, which is horrible, she lied to you. She told you that she got pregnant from a one-night stand because she knew you would be angry with her. She knew you'd judge her, and she tried to avoid that like the coward she is. Personally, I'd put a countdown timer on the time she gets to spend at my house, and that is 6 months because that's when your husband gets back. What do you guys think about OP's situation? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's check out the community comments. Alice the cat says, "Not the a-hole sick. Your sister is a home wrecker and doesn't deserve anything from anyone. Having said this, you are doing more than enough for her, which is simply amazing of you and shows that deep down you do love her. Because if you didn't, it would be much easier to throw her out on her ass. She needs to realize what she did was so wrong on so many levels. How would she feel if you found out your husband was cheating? I bet she would hate the other woman in that situation. Please tell her it is not for you to forgive. You were not hurt in this situation, just very disappointed. The only person she should care about getting forgiveness from is the woman whose entire life she has spent 5 years destroying. Hopefully, having someone like you around will help her to change her ways. But if not, at the very least, it will give her baby someone to look up to other than her heart. Dragonfly Girl says, I've been where that poor wife is. It's the worst feeling in the world. Years later, I still wonder how the chick was so naive and dying sick careless. We weren't friends, but she knew of me and she believed his lies that we were unhappy and were separating. They always believe the lies and believe they're the special one he will be with forever. Well, I kicked him out, and they lasted a few months before he was calling telling me she was crazy. Surprise, surprise. Guys, that's one of the lies he told her about me, and also told me about literally every one of his exes. So yeah, giant shock. Sorry for the rambling, OP. You are very much not the a-hole. Your sister is just another sad, delusional homewrecker. I'm sorry you have to live with that knowledge now. Keep her away from your husband. Your sister's actions were incredibly hurtful and harmful. It's understandable that you need time to process this and decide whether you can rebuild trust with her. And Lunar Eclipse, Op says not the a-hole Op. Not only was it crappy for her not to come clean to you after all you did, but she very easily could be putting you in danger. You have no idea if this man or his wife may become unhinged. She already showed up at your house. You expecting him to visit? And Op responds, literally, yes, that was also what I said. And she was like, oh, he would never do that, blah blah blah. Additional information from Op's comments. One of my reasons not to kick her out now is that I don't want her to get an apartment on his dime when that money should go to his kids. Also, my nephew doesn't deserve to be born homeless. Still, I don't care about the husband. He is a horrible human, but both share responsibility. She helped him wreck his marriage. She supported that, she stayed for 5 years. There is no excuse. She met the kids, took them to the park with the bastard, and she wanted the kids to get to know her so she could hop into the mom role as soon as he divorced his wife. You're right. I guess what is making me crazy is that if she didn't tell me, she knew it was wrong, so why keep doing it? She brought chaos to her life, the wife's life, and mine. F the husband. I have seen this play out a million times. He is not going to stick to her and become a beautiful family. He is going to become a check and maybe a Christmas present. Well, the community agrees that Op is not the a-hole, and that the sister brought this on herself and that she put Op's life in danger, and she might as well could have also. We understand that the sister is ridiculously delusional, apart from being an idiot to think she would just jump into the mom role right away. Horrible. Now, of course, we have an update, so let's move on with that to see how this story ends. First, I'd like to clarify a few things. I am not going to tell my sister to get rid of the baby. That's not my place, and I would never suggest such a thing. Also, I am not going to install tracking software on her phone or demand access to all her devices. That's invasive and wrong. I've been thinking a lot, and while I can't say that I don't love my sister, it's very hard to feel that love right now. I don't know who she is anymore. It's not just that she lied to me. It's what she did and how convinced she is that she was justified because they were in love. She's brought chaos into my home that I opened up to her. I'm deeply disappointed in her, and I just don't like her at the moment. I'm letting her stay with me because I don't want her to become dependent on him. I don't think he's a good man either, and as a social worker I've seen these scenarios too many times. My sister is already deluded. I don't need to open the door to a dependency that's also financial. Now on to the update. I haven't been punishing my sister, but I've been treating her like a roommate. This is driving her crazy. She's begging me to go back to how things were before, but I can't. I told her that I need time, and things can't just return to normal overnight. She tried to explain how it all happened. She admitted that she always knew he was married but believed she could tell how unhappy he was and felt he deserved to be happy. They met at a bar a few weeks after his son's accident. He told her that his wife hadn't touched him since it happened, and that he was about to explode. Lovely. I asked her why she would involve herself with a married man, knowing the hurt it would cause. She said she wanted to be a wife and a good mom, and that included his kids. She had hoped he would divorce his wife so they all could move on and finally be happy together. I just stared at her, unable to comprehend how she could rationalize her actions. A few days later, he appeared at our house, claiming he had left his wife and wanted to be with my sister. I told him to leave immediately, or I would call the police. My sister was furious with me, accusing me of ruining her chance at happiness. I made it clear to her that if he comes over again, I will evict her. She's free to date anyone she wants, but not under my roof. I also told her that if she plans to have him around after the baby is born, she'll need to find her own place. Now, word has gotten around our community about the affair. While we were grocery shopping, a woman even spat on my sister. Many of her friends have cut ties with her, calling her a home wrecker. Some are married themselves and don't want her near their husbands. I haven't said "I told you so" even once. We unexpectedly ran into his wife at a local cafe, and my sister wanted to apologize, suggesting that maybe they could all have a good relationship for the sake of the kids. The wife laughed coldly and said, "You made your choices, now live with them. Don't expect me to make this easier for you." My sister is devastated and has been lying in bed ever since. I'm taking care of her physical needs, making sure she eats, stays hydrated, and attends her prenatal appointments, but I can't bring myself to comfort her emotionally. I just don't have it in me right now. Well, I'm mostly sorry for you and the baby that's on the way, but no sympathy for your sister. Like the wife said, she made her choices. Now she needs to live with them. And the rest is just the consequences of her actions. So hopefully nothing is a big impact on you and your husband. Take care of, and thanks for sharing. Now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. Am I the AL for not supporting my wife when she started to cry at a Swedish tradition? I'm a 52-year-old male, and my wife is a 47-year-old female. We already have 3 kids, a 13-year-old male, a 13-year-old female, and a 20-year-old female. But a few months back, we felt like we could use a breath of fresh air. So we signed up to take in a foreign exchange student for a year. We got a 16-year-old Swedish girl that I will call Sarah. And that has worked very well. She's very open and honest and loves to share how things are in Sweden, and how different things are here in the US. It was her birthday just a few days ago, so we gathered around the laptop while she was FaceTiming her family. They started singing in Swedish, but the song was particularly longer and more repetitive. After the call, I asked her about it, and she explained that some families in Sweden sing a song where they talk about shooting, hanging, and drowning the birthday person after they turn 100. My wife overheard this and started to get annoyed because, in her words, it was inappropriate and extremely disrespectful to her household. When she sang that without her knowing, my wife isn't naturally sensitive to bad language or words. But when she was born, she had a 60-year-old dad that died when he was 96. She is more conscious about how elderly people can feel just before they are about to die, and she felt like the song was making fun of people when they are old and sick. Me and the twins were embarrassed while standing there, so I asked her to calm down and that it's just a Swedish joke song that isn't even meant in that way. But she just started ranting about how it was her house too, and she shouldn't be affected by such derogatory language behind her back. Sarah obviously felt bad, tried to apologize, and explained that she didn't mean to be disrespectful in that way. She emphasized that it was just her family singing the song, but my wife just stormed out and yelled about how she couldn't believe we had taken in a girl from such a cruel family. I tried to talk to her in our room right after, assured Sarah that she didn't do anything wrong, and advised her to pay no mind. My wife, however, was apparently more upset at me for not supporting and agreeing with her, and started to cry about how I knew what she had gone through concerning her father but didn't back her up. The house has been extremely tense, especially when all of us are in the same room. I really don't understand how a Swedish song could make her so upset, but I'm wondering if I should have taken my wife's side and been more sympathetic. Am I the a-hole? Well, no, I don't think you're the a-hole. It's a song, and it wasn't even directed at your wife. It's a birthday song, it's like a cultural thing. You can't be upset about those things. Your wife is taking something that completely has nothing to do with her and making it totally personal. Like we could do this with so many things. Movies that are about old people, documentaries where there's old people, or songs that are about old people. She could make everything personal and find offense in whatever she wants. So that would lead me to the second question. Is this like a normal behavior for her? I mean, you didn't mention that your wife is hypersensitive, but this thing really got to her. Maybe you should talk about that with her. Still not the a-hole, and what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section. And now, let's check out the community comments. Okay, Neryl says, not the a-hole. Here's the joke. First verse. May she live for 100 years. Of course, she will live for 100 years. Second verse. When she has lived for 100 years, then she will be pushed. The Swedish word for push is the same as shoot, on a wheelbarrow. Third verse. When she has been pushed, shot on a wheelbarrow, then she will be hung upon a horse. Fourth verse. When she's been hung upon a horse, she will be drowned. Same as the word for drenched in a lake of champagne. It is incredibly harmless and only becomes morbid once the person reaches their 80s, when the first verse becomes in effect, if not in fact. May she live for another 20 years at least. Square Minimum says, your wife is still upset that a 97-year-old man died. I mean, it was her father, but come on, the poor Swedish kid didn't do it behind your wife's back anyway. Was your wife jealous that the girl was getting attention on her birthday? Because this certainly got the attention back on the wife. And Op responds, yes, I don't believe Sarah did anything wrong as well. And I'm also a bit mad at my wife, but it was more of how her father was suffering and that he himself said that he didn't want to keep living. I think then that when my wife heard the meaning of the song, she interpreted it differently and it triggered an emotion for her. Fragrant Duty says, not the a-hole. Your wife is being a terrible hostess. She should not participate in foreign exchanges if she can't tolerate cultural differences. Okay, well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole, and that first commenter actually told us what the whole song was about. Yeah, it's just a joke, a birthday song, nothing to be offended about. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. I have read all of the comments. I was even up late at night to read them all. And I am very thankful that so many people gave their input on my situation. I first talked to my wife this morning and showed her some of the comments after last night. First, she was pissed. I wrote out our personal information, but I explained that I didn't write anything that could trace back to us. And she calmed down. I first want to mention that no, my wife is not jealous of Sarah in that way, and I'm not attracted to Sarah, since some comments said that. Also, my wife is not psychotic or narcissistic. I agree it was a horrible way to treat a guest, and we have already talked to our organization, and they are currently looking for a new host family for Sarah. My wife is still upset but is starting to feel incredibly guilty and has apologized. But I understand that no amount of sorry will make Sarah feel safe again. Tensions are still high, but I showed Sarah some of the comments, and she finds it hilarious and comforting. And I again assured Sarah that she didn't do anything wrong. And dark children's songs are in every culture and don't harm anyone. To answer some other questions, no, my wife doesn't actually do this, and she was starting to panic when I talked to her about what she actually said and how Sarah probably feels being trapped in our house in a foreign country. I also showed her the true meaning of the song by one of the comments, which caused her to almost have a panic attack that I needed to guide her through. We will investigate this further since I know some of you had theories about how it could be menopause, so we will look into that again. Thank you for the advice on how to face this, but I want to mention that a lot of people assumed a lot of horrible things about my wife. I wanted to clear that up. Well, OP, that kind of happens, but it's a good thing that everything has been cleared up. You guys are going to check your wife to see what's going on, and that Sarah will be placed in another home. So thanks so much for sharing, OP, and take care. And that's it for today's story.